G'day Exiles, I'm Vanillibet and Sorcery just got spicy. In the latest Conan Exiles update, you can bottle way more blood, hire a demonic shopkeeper, send a cosmic murder puppy on hunting quests, and use all of that to transmute high-grade materials with a new Sorcerous Lifeblood system. Today I'll walk you through how the new sorcery changes actually work, how to get the potent Sorcerous Lifeblood and Hyperborean Witch Blood, how to use the Traitor of Blood and It Hunts Summon. Today I'll walk you through how the new sorcery changes actually work, how to get potent Sorcerous Lifeblood and that Hyperborean Witch Blood, how to use Traitor of Blood and It That Hunts, the little fella behind me, and a quick look at the new Thrall trading system because that's been confusing to a few folk. This is aimed at people who already have basic sorcery unlocked, but I'll keep it step-by-step-ish so you can follow along if you're a bit rusty. And some of those new changes. If this video does help you, chuck it a like and tell me in the comments if you've managed to do any transmuting yet or it's been a little bugged out, because I have heard a lot of reports of that too. First, a quick rundown on the patch so we're all on the same page here. Sacrificial blood got buffed. You now get 3 bottles instead of 1 when you sacrifice these guys, which is pretty huge if you've ever wanted to cry farming hundreds of blood for your circle. And you might have noticed the sorcerer up here. Well, yeah, he actually matters now. Putting him in here gives up to 100% output, depending if they're tier 4 or not. I'm going to get double the resources. I will need 3 flasks per 1 blood, I do believe. Cannot be moved. I don't know what's going on there. No, it just made all 6 of them. That's pretty nifty. If you have more than 1 flask in there, it will use 3 per 1 blood. I did notice that. But it won't use all 6 if they're not all in there. So yeah, you really only need 1 glass flask. There is this fancy new system called Sorcerous Alchemy, basically material transmutation of recipes, some of which require this pure blood and potent Sorcerous Lifeblood as those key ingredients, and we'll go into how to farm those. There are now 3 new chalk circle rituals which summon the Traitor of Blood, summon It That Hurts, and Avatar of Bugrug. We're mostly going to be talking about these first 2, but Avatar of Bugrug gets some honorable mentions later on. But these 2 are the core part of our Sorcerous Lifeblood loop. Now, before you dive into Lifeblood stuff, make sure you've got a couple of things. You'll need Sorcery Unlocked, a Tome of Kurak, a Somagogi bench, and, you know, your usual kind of setup. A chalk circle placed, preferably with no obstructions. Some sacrificial stones. A decent stash of glass flasks. A good supply of blood. Some fragments of power. A stash of alchemy related things like alchemy base, your brimstone, your ichor, and some basic resources if you really feel. Optional but nice would be a safe little blood farm outpost near these easier camps like the Tefaris, and a couple of strong followers to babysit you while you're doing all sorts of ritual rites, possibly a dancer to help cure your corruption as you go. Now, you don't need endgame gear, but you probably want to be at least level 30, learn sorcery, and pop, I believe it's at least the first 10 to unlock all of the new goodness, or a bunch of the new goodness that's useful to us anyway, but it starts unlocking at Grimoire 5. Once you do have sorcery unlocked, it automatically unlocks the option to get the diluted Sorcerous Lifeblood when you are at your sacrificial stone, but you will need to come in here and unlock these guys. And you know, access to a named sorcerer never hurt nobody with this patch. Let's talk about the actual process and the kind of loop, so to speak, you can do. If you're wanting to farm the sacrificial blood a little bit more efficiently, you probably want to set up camp somewhere easy like a Tefari camp that has a fair few followers, but if you're on PvP multiplayer, it can be a little bit harder to find a good spot to put your stuff down without getting attacked. You can put your sacrificial stones inside a little building. It just makes it slightly more annoying getting in and out with a body on a rope, but there are some other strats I'll go into in a second. I also like to have my dancer equipped with a truncheon, so if any guys come running over here, you can lure a couple back and be ready for your next sacrifice in theory. This is as close as I could put them, unfortunately. There are places where you can be mildly closer. The Thralls now roll, which is hilarious. These guys, I believe, are Thralls. And start popping them in your sacrificial stones. They'll stay there and won't wake up, but the ones over there might wake up, hence why he keeps his truncheon. He also cures me of corruption. And like I mentioned earlier, we are now going to get 3 sacrificial blood, or up to 6 if you have a named sorcerer, per 1 bloodright blood. If you're looking for glass flasks, because you're going to need some of those too, head on over to Septimerial. I have a separate guide that details how to get these real good, more than you could ever desire, and purchase a couple. So thanks to the update and the buff to the sorcerers, your blood is going to be piling up really quickly. This is our new premium currency for sorceries, so don't be shy. Remember, this is why we're kidnapping people. It may not always only cost 1 flask. They may fix that at some point, but for now, simply use 1 flask. Might change. And if you want access to any of that new Sorcerous Alchemy stuff, you're going to need another sacrificial blood, but instead of turning it into the flask of sacrificial blood, we can make diluted Sorcerous Lifeblood. Hence why we needed the Ichor and the blood flasks that are filled with water. I go into a lot of detail on all of that in my flasks guide, so that's linked somewhere, as well as how to get Ichor like a boss and a bunch of different ways to get blood guide. So I'll link those things in the about section. Now, this could be dependent on your server settings, but you do get a decent chunk. So you're not just getting 1, you get 20. So it's a nice little output. Right now, essentially think of Lifeblood as an endgame sorcery region that lets you turn one mildly less rare resource into eventually way better resources. And who knows, they could change what is for offer over different patches. So I'm not going to list every single thing here, but do know that a lot of fun things are possible and you get more back than just 1. Yay! Now let's bring out our new bestie, Traitor of Blood. In your Tome of Korak on the Thermagogi bench, keep upgrading until you unlock the Summon Traitor of Blood. I do believe he is also unlocked with Summon Corpse similar level. Again, I do have a more in-depth guide on all of sorcery, how to learn it, how to level it quickly, what every level does give you spell-wise and recipe-wise. And hopefully the updated version is out by the time you're viewing this. So now at your chalk circle, you want to find old Traitor of Blood. These crafting costs might change, but for now it does cost a Tome of Nurgle crafted at your Thermagogi, and I will go into that in a moment also. Some sacrificial blood, because of course you do. Some gold coins and some regular blood. And you also do want access to regular blood in your inventory, because Old Matey does only last about 5 minutes or so. He is not aggressive. Think of him kind of like a mini unaggressive boss shop guy. He's a vendor, not a fighter. Now, because you can't access the circle while he is summoned, you do want to have it blood in your pocket, like I was saying. And because of the update changes, it will draw forth from your pocket into the bench, so you don't have to just put 10 blood in there, which is really nice quality of life upgrade. It'll pop up like so in a fiery ball of fire. Go trade. And he does only require blood, and there are a few key items worth getting here, although you can trade in a bunch of this stuff and sorcery alchemy it to other resources. It is best to not faff around too much while he's out because he won't last forever. We do want a bunch of powder of corruption, and he will give you 1 per blood. So you want a butt ton of blood if you're buying powder of corruption. These ones give you the price that they say. So 100 blood crystal trade, beautiful. That's actually an epic deal, especially because we need some resources later that we might want to trade some of these blood crystals in for at Mechamosis' Spire. You can get some demon blood, which is also a way that you can transmog blood in the Jebel Sarg altar, but probably not worth acquiring it from here for blood. But if you have extra demon blood and Jebel Sarg upgraded altar, you can make some regular blood that way and not just in a squisher. Little hidden tip in there. But this is where you get inert gems and powder of corruption for the most part. There are a couple of other sneaky little bosses you can kill who will drop powder of corruption every now and then, but it's way more reliable summoning this guy, so to speak. But you can get lucky and get a butt ton from some of those rare drops. And quickly to dip into how to craft the Tome of Nurgle itself, you're going to need 10 Sorcerous spell pages or 100 fail Sorcerous spell pages that you can change into regular spell pages in your bench. Some thick leather, 10 demon blood, and 2 sacrificial blood flasks. Now remember, you will only get 1 per craft, so get hunting those sorcerers. I have a sorcerer's route guide if you aren't familiar on how to farm them. This has been a good promo for my other guides, I tell you what, this update. And if we're looking to summon Itu Hunts, that powder of corruption will be used to craft the obsidian gem. Costing only 1 per, it's not too horrible. But depending on how many times you have to summon him to gain access to things like the Hyperborean Witch's Blood and the Ritual Sacrificial Tresses, you might need a bunch of these Obsidian gems. And we take that Obsidian gem and we summon the dog, also known as It That Hunts. This ritual is also in the Chalk Circle, but I believe it's the step after, or the next 2 steps after you learn Old Mate, the Traitor of Blood. So without the Obsidian gem, you're not going to get the full dialogue, and Old Mate's already out on a hunt for me. So he's going to take a little while to retrieve that stuff, but usually you'll be able to trade in that gem and select some options and get him to retrieve your Hyperborean Witch's Blood and the Ritual Sanctuary Chassis. Will take roughly an hour or 2 or 3-ish for him to return of actual real life hours. FYI, it's much like the Freya and Lufey hunt, that's going to take a while. So this by no means will replace actual farming, doesn't seem. So think of the Obsidian gem as essentially a contract item to lease Old Mate out on little quest errands for you. You can also bring back a variety of other random things like legendary keys and dragon horns and such. Bonus tip, if you can't remember where to craft something like the Obsidian gem or the imbued alchemical stone, you can come to search in your knowledge and write them in, and it will show you, if you have it learnt, what bench to actually craft it in. As well as even if you typed in something like armor scraps, it would bring up this, the star metal ore, it would bring up these type of things. Ore, that's exactly what I wanted. So if you ever find yourself forgetting, don't forget that this search function will show you what bench to craft it at and how much it's going to cost to unlock. So don't forget to go through and unlock those so you can craft them at that fireball cauldron. Back to It That Hunts. So he isn't aggressive like other mate over there that we summoned, the Traitor of Blood, and he is also time limited. But another fun fact about him, you have to summon him again to get your resources. So you will need multiple abilities to be able to summon him. He won't just pop back. Like I said, it takes about 2 to 3 hours from reports that I've read, and my experience of waiting about 2 hours, the first quest he went on. But another use for those fragments of power could also be making the imbued alchemical stone. We can use our inert gem from the Traitor of Blood earlier and 25 alchemical base plus our recently acquired Hyperborean Witch Blood and craft that bad boy. Now, I assume you are using that to upgrade to your potent Sorcerous Lifeblood. You are also going to need a Molten Heart. And that's where Old Mate Bugrug comes in handy. For only 1 sacrificial blood and 25 brimstone, super cheap, you can summon a massively aggressive guy, about 20k HP, depending on your server settings. Whack him down, he will in his inventory have some various crafting goods, some demon blood, some whatever, maybe a weapon, one of those molten hearts, and don't forget to skin him or hack him up, and you will also get another molten heart. So now we've got all of those goodies we can craft. We are going to get more than 1 in return, so it's not the most heinous thing in the universe. It's still a little bit heinous though. I literally keep forgetting to go through and unlock these because I keep being in admin mode, which unlocks everything. But yeah, don't forget to go in here and unlock your Tome of Nurgle and all your transmoggy goodnesses, your different pure transformations of lifebloods, etc. It's also worth noting that you do want to use your best bench available because it will cost less the better your bench. And it will be a little bit quicker, which is nice. And I will digress slightly for the 4,000th time this video. I do like that the Fireball Cauldron has more use to it now, because back in the day before they split the benches from the Fireball to the Alchemy bench, we just had Alchemy bench, this guy Fireball Cauldron, just one. It made everything and it felt more full. It made the dye, it made all the potions. It was a little bit too full without a search function. I'm just going to say that too. But then this one was kind of useless. Huge bench to make what, bombs and alchemical base. Cool. And that's kind of the loop in itself of the resource farming abilities that you can kind of do so far. Get your Thralls, get your blood, summon your demon trader, trade in your powders and materials, get your obsidian gem up, It That Hunts, summon witch blood, potent life, higher tier transmutes. Is a little bit of a cycle, a little bit of a process, not gonna lie. But once you got it down pat, get a little farming route down, it won't be too bad. And you'll have yourself an evil little factory of fun. We're not quite at the end of the video yet, but if you have stuck around this long, I'll chuck in this bonus tip, as we are currently on the topic of trading, and this has been very confusing to a lot of players, to be fair. Most players. The new trading hubs that you can place at your base, they are only useful if you're on a multiplayer server. Single player, we don't have other people to come along and buy the thralls or animals off us, unfortunately. But at level 30, we unlock the thrall selling cage and the animal selling post. Now you might think you want to put an actual thrall icon in this box, and it simply will not let you, and that's confusing as hell. Unless maybe you're a new player and more used to the new mechanics than the old mechanics, you might have got it first go then. Some of us old heads, it's a struggle to remember these things change. And we in fact want to place our thrall out in the world first, pick them up again, and then place them into the ghost of the cage. Same goes with the animals. We can now set our value to whatever you like, and you can get a little look at their perks and all of that in here also. So we could set them for 1,000, 10,000. Your whole economy in your server could be jacked. It could be amazing. Nobody could ever touch this mechanic. Who knows? It could actually help build taverns into a bit of a community hub. Yeah, build a bar, have some thralls for sale. Did I mention you can also sell golems? So they have a little bit more worth now too. To someone, maybe. And it might not be directly tied to the lifeblood, but it loops in nicely to the whole economy of souls and resources theme this patch has going on. And a lot of people were confused, so I thought I'd highlight it a little bit there. But now a few practical suggestions if you want to actually lean into this system. I did briefly touch on this earlier, but a small sandstone shack near an easy thrall spawn, somewhere like Gafari River, any of these easy pirate camps, where I'm at here, lots of room for activities. Or even potentially near your tavern, because if you're real quick, you can knock these guys out. That guy, apparently not so much. Get a low level one. I'm having no good at that. I knocked a whole bunch of them out earlier. There we go. Now be quick with your binding. Oh no, I don't want to sit down. Be quick with the binding, I said. I'm being the opposite of quick. And pop them in there. The lower the level they are, obviously, the easier you will knock them out. But it is one way to also utilize your tavern for this update. And you definitely want to be having that tier 4 sorcerer to help with the blood generation, because that double output is massive. And you know, a schmexy dancer with a truncheon never hurt nobody except for maybe the thralls that are trying to poke you from behind. And it is nice for the corruption you gain. If you do plan to have your ritual hub at your main base, probably have a dedicated area somewhere, probably not right in your crafting area, just in case some wise guy accidentally summons Bugrug and he starts murking all your hard-earned crafting thralls or your building or whatever, your bed. And also these guys might get clipped in your walls or a roof, and summoning circles are a little finicky to poke down in a confined space anyway. And have your little cauldron set up somewhere nearby just for maximum efficiency of running stuff between. And I like to have a couple of summoning circles so I can have the wolf summoned at the same time that maybe this guy's summoned or whatever. You can really get away with one. Keep in mind, Bugrug will destroy your summoning circle. I believe this is an intended mechanic. So yeah, also there's that. You don't want it to destroy it with a whole bunch of resources that you might not be able to carry in there. Dropping into a little loot bag on the ground waiting to be booped away by someone's repair hammer and a ghost out somewhere. This has definitely not happened to me. Maybe it definitely has in real life, but not from Bugrug, from us accidentally dismantling the circle. You live and learn. You do want to be a little bit efficient with this, because if that hunt does take a long time to come back, you want to treat them like a bit of a crafting queue. Pop them on out to hunt before you maybe go run a dungeon or get some of your other resources you need. Don't forget about your treasure coffer for trading in treasures for some good old gold stockpiles. For some good old stockpiles that will help you with alchemical base eventually and fund more of your sick experiments. I maybe wanted to pop this in the last section about your hub, but you also do want to have a squisher so you can put some human flesh in there for some easy blood. The ones you don't sacrifice you can kill and hack up with a cleaver. But if you happen to be level 20 and run the Jebel Sarg dungeon already, unlock the Retreat of Jebel Sarg and upgrade. because this bad boy is going to enable you to trade in all of that extra demon blood for human blood at a fairly decent output, considering you end up with so much demon blood if you're out farming Unnamed City or anywhere that has any boss anywhere. But if you have been trading in some of that regular blood you got for blood crystals, we can get a decent return on that and get a little bit of fun stuff that can help us out in the long run, and a little bit of demon blood, which we can in turn then trade in for more regular blood and more blood crystals. You can head over to Mechamosis' Spire and find this Conan Exiles trader lurking behind the altar. Mechamosis' Spire is located in 7G on top of a big old pillar, and you can trade in for Epherian Magi Caches. Whee! Probably wait until you get home, although these aren't as heavy as some other boxes. You can see we're getting some steel fire, we're getting a little bit of demon blood, we're getting alchemical base, we're getting gold and silver, we are getting Sorcerer's Regent, which we only need the 1 sack now, no longer a big old inventory full of bags. And we can also open up some of these and get extra cloth pouches. And considering now the first tier of spells is actually free to craft, you can focus on using these for some of the more fancy spells like Mass Cull and all those other ones that people use other than Mass Cull. If you want a little bit of free powder of corruption and you don't want to have to be buying it off old Blood Trader all the time, head to 8B at Old Khalil Stronghold or Warmaker Sanctuary. Once you're in the main area with the 3 rooms, he's in the purple door, the guy we're after. I'm looking for Bugrug, the Defiler. I had to spawn in a few to make sure I wasn't tripping. Almost got him mixed up in my brain because he's a Scepter mob too. Oh, he's so pretty with Bugrug. And I was like, does Bugrug spawn here? I know something we need here spawns here. And it wasn't the Molten Heart. It was the corruption of powder from this guy. You can find Bugrug on various different random events that do spawn around here and there, and mostly on Scepter, but hack him up enough times, you'll get some demon blood, but you also run the chance of getting some powder of corruption. I got 36 that time. My settings help, or hinder me really. As if I was to have careful harvest, I'd be twice as likely to gather rare resources, and it is a rare resource, but when it hits on that efficient harvest, it's nice. I get doubly. You are going to get very, very full of meat, so be warned. Empty pockets, and I have 84 powder of corruption and extra demon blood for turning into regular blood at my Jebel Sarg altar. Plus these guys, the Giant Kings, are a great source of demon blood and thick hide. So you can use that thick hide, tan it down, make your tomes of Nurgle, and get some sweet legendaries while you're at it. There is a map room obelisk right nearby, but you could easily set up a teleportation stone directly from your base to a little hub next to the Warmaker Sanctuary and make a quick little farm of it also. There's some sorcerers kicking about in those next to the wood. Not too many, but enough that you could definitely farm some pages while you're at it. Alright, that's the new Sorcerous Lifeblood loop and the summoning-based trading system in the latest Conan Exiles update. It was a little bit more tangent-y, but I held myself back real good on my last video, and considering I hit 10k subscribers recently, as in today, I feel like I'm entitled to a little bit of a rant. I super appreciate you guys who've stuck around, and if you found this helpful, hit that like so YouTube knows it's not total trash, and if you're new around here, consider subscribing for more Conan Exiles guides and general survival game chaos. As always, I hope you have an excellent day, evening, night, morning, whatever it may be, wherever you may be. Have a good one. Zug zug, and I'll see you in the next one.